With Brooks Lee's career off to a scorching start, it looks like he is ready to fill Royce Lewis's shoes. We're talking Lee and more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Arnay, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Arnay. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes to the channel and gives notifications every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly to Matt and I, guys, join us on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth personalized experience through text messaging alerts right to your phone. And you can find the link to our Subtext wherever you're listening or watching, or available on any of our social media platforms. Today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Did you know that it's never too late to resolve your tax issues with the IRS? Don't wait. Reduce your tax debt and get help from a team of licensed tax professionals. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/locked-on. And great episode for you guys today. A huge name at the top. We've talked about him a bit recently, but I believe he has become a must-add. Matt, my brother, and he's tied with one of your favorite guys. So I think this is a great spot to start for us. Matt, why don't you take the lead here?
Hey, we're talking about Brooks Lee. Brooks has actually been killing it. I wasn't sure if I was really bought in on what he was going to come up and do. He's really good, but ultimately I needed to see a little bit more since, you really look at his, minor league career and, he's shown stints of like being really good, but never really showed off like, certain aspects that I really like power or stolen base capability. He just was pretty much like a batting average guy and, was able to hit a lot of doubles and triples, which is really good for points leagues. But he came up and he's looking really good right now. He's batting 467. He's had, only 15 at bats, don't get me wrong, but 2 runs, 7 hits, double already, a bomb already, 6 ribs. I mean, these are all things that like scream like, hey, I'm here, right? So how I'm taking Brooks Lee is, I'm adding him immediately because obviously he needs to be added. He's performing and he's performing better than probably some of the people that are, out on waiver wire right now. And on top of that, he's a direct replacement for Royce Lewis. So he needs to be added for that reason too. But lastly, there is upside there. If he decides to turn around and hit and, show off continue what he was doing in the minors this year, where he had 7 home runs through 123 at bats, which is a much higher home run pace than he's had his whole minor league career. And that continues, then we're going to see something pretty special from Brooks Lee. So I think that there's a good amount of upside that entices me to want to add him and kind of hang on to him through, even if he starts struggling a little bit. So he's like kind of like a little bit past speculative now that I've kind of guided the Diamond Club when he got first called up to now more of a full blown. He's a must add, and we're going to see what he is, and we're going to be a little bit more patient now because Brooks Lee might be on pace to be a very impactful player for that team and for fantasy in general.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Brooks Lee there. Just going to add my 2 cents here. He's 23 years old, plays for the Minnesota Twins. As Matt mentioned, taking over third base for Royce Lewis, which we don't really know how long he's going to be out for with that abductor strain, or we wish Royce Lewis the best. But as Matt would say, I think he's starting to look like our buddy Alberto Mondesi. I wish Royce Lewis the best, but man, this guy just can't stay on the baseball field. But Brooks Lee, great replacement, not only for him, just to get on your fantasy teams right now on Yahoo. Brooks Lee is 32% owned, has shortstop eligibility, but will be getting that third base eligibility sooner than later on almost all platforms. And Brooks Lee's just been on fire. Matt read off the numbers, and then all the underlying stuff so far. It's not really enough games to really buy into it, but all the batting average, looks somewhat legit. And he's done that his whole minor league career. He's hitting the ball very hard. He's not whiffing a lot, not striking out a lot, not chasing a lot. Just love what Brooks Lee brings to the game. And at 23 years old, 6'1", I mentioned 205 pounds, muscly baseball boy. I think Brooks Lee is going to be a star in this game for years to come for those Minnesota Twins as long as he stays there. So get Brooks Lee on your fantasy team now. Must add moment. Let's keep things pushing. Matt, let's talk about one of our New York Yankees. Might as well. I feel like it's been a while since we talked some New York Yankees. Let's talk Ben Rice. Ben Rice got the call not too long ago, and he's done nothing but hit lately. Ben Rice, so far, 8 runs, 4 homers, 12 RBIs, 294 batting average. Just looks really good. Has catcher and first base eligibility on Yahoo. Right now, he's up to 48% owned, which is, after that big 3-homer game on, the 6th, I see that number had jumped up a huge amount. I think just 30% in the last couple of days since then. But let's get him on our team. He's been leading off of late. Doesn't have a great prospect pedigree, but has been successful in the minors and has, almost been a little cheat code there at the catcher position. If you were able to snag him in, some of those deeper leagues, he's playing almost every day. And in the middle of that Yankees lineup, 6'1", 215 lefty. Just really like what Ben Rice brings to the table. I think we just add him now and kind of see where the thing goes.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Rice is interesting. I look at him like this. He has the pace in the minors both years where he had 275 at bats and 222 at bats, where he's had a 40 home run pace if not higher. In 275 at bats in 23, he had a 20 home runs, and then this year, in 222 at bats, he's already had 15. So you quantify that to I would say 560 at bats if he plays a full season, right? You're looking at that. That's like 45 home runs right there. If my math is right. So if Ben Rice can even translate 75%, you're getting a 35 to 30 to 35 home run hitter. And if everything clicks, the kid has seemed to be successful with batting average. Never really had a season that was ugly except for 21, his very first year in any kind of minor league system. Jumped up to 267, then 324, and then this past season 275, which I think he'll probably land around in the 260s, which is kind of more of the realistic aspect of it. But he's going to be very, very helpful going down into the stretch, trying to either clinch a playoff spot or clinch first or second place. He is a must-add, Ben Rice of the New York Yankees. But let's move on to another guy. Somebody that, honestly, you look at all the stat cast on him and you go, well, I don't see how he's been successful so recently, but hey, sometimes it takes a little bit for the numbers to catch up what he's doing in the moment, right? And that's Colt Keith of the Detroit Tigers. Colt Keith is 19% owned, and this past week has been fantastic for him. 5 runs, 3 bombs, 4 ribs, batting 350. He's looking really good, really, stout performances going on there. I feel like if he can keep this up, which he does have the prospect pedigree, I think we could see a hell of a swing in terms of him in general. This is his first year in the bigs, and it does take some prospects some time to get adjusted to the bigs. But like Colt Keith last year in the minors had 27 home runs through 507 at bats. He also had 38 doubles, 3 triples to boot, 101 ribs, and batted 306. The year before that, 301. The year before that, 286. Colt Keith is actually a really good bat. And this 241 batting average isn't reflective of his normal behavior in the minors. Obviously, you're taking a step forward into a much bigger pool of better players, but at the same time, Colt Keith should be able to translate to at least a 275 by the, I think, season ends if he could stay hot. So he's another one I'm adding just based off of the hot streak. And then if it continues for another week or two, I think that he's going to be somebody we might also want to be patient with and kind of see if he can kind of break forward, because Colt Keith is just could really crush for fantasy baseball play for fantasy teams right now.
Hey man, I love me some Colt Keith, and he's somebody we're telling people to watch out for in our prospect episodes. If you haven't watched those, you need to check those prospect episodes out because we've kind of been on point with a lot of these guys that have been called up. And at 6'2", 211 lefty, Colt Keith for the Detroit Tigers, he's actually been really good for even the last 30 days. Last 30 days, Colt Keith, 11 runs, 5 homers, 9 RBIs, a steal, 286 batting average. He's sneakily been good for a while, hitting second in that Detroit lineup. A lot of opportunities for a former top prospect, Colt Keith, to just be really, really good. And he is once again 19% owned on Yahoo. But coming up next, we're going to talk about a very good Minnesota Twins player, and we're going to move into our starting pitchers once again coming up next.
PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They're the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks. You pick more or less than 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Exploring my skills on PrizePicks this season adds an extra layer of excitement to daily fantasy sports with just a few taps. You can transform $10 into $1,000 easily. PrizePicks is incredibly user-friendly. You can make your selections, submit your entries in less than 60 seconds. And as the host of Locked On Fantasy Baseball, I might as well give you some picks to get you started off with. And I feel I got some good ones this week. Opt for Paul Skeens to have higher than 8 strikeouts in his next start. Opt for Jose Ramirez to have higher than 1.5 total bases in his next outing. And opt for Bobby Witt Jr. to have higher than 0.5 home runs in his next game. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Here at Locked On Fantasy Baseball, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team. Whether it's offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs, it's year round. You know what else is year round? Unfortunately, collection season. Just because the tax season is over doesn't mean that the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your properties. Don't let that IRS target you at all. Let the licensed professionals at tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and A+ rating in Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion, yes, with a B, billion, in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season, yes, you do need to file them. Yeah, you want to go over to tax you want to make sure that's filed correctly and call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/locked on or see the link in the description below. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have you had to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinion, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or free on the Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. As the season unfolds, rely on our dynamic content, get real-time alert right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call notifications, injury actions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of your fantasy leagues by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where your path to victory begins. And by subscribing today, you get a free 2 weeks free. So check that out. And if you want to find out who you should prioritize on this list, you definitely want to check us out and join us on there. Link is in the description below. Go ahead, Dom. I need to swig this like I'm hitting the shot back. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, brother. I know how that goes, and it is always a lot, but we appreciate you, my brother. But moving on, you know what you guys are here for, and I teased a Minnesota Twin, and you guys are getting a Minnesota Twin, but maybe not the one you expected. Let's talk some Jose Miranda. Jose Miranda is a very interesting name. Somebody I was really big on coming into the 2023 season. Jose Miranda dealt with a few, injuries. Once again, Jose Miranda, corner infielder for the Minnesota Twins, dealt with a couple shoulder issues, things like that in 2023. Didn't really get to play a lot of games. So, kind of just didn't live up to that hype that we had seen in the 2022 season from Jose Miranda. But this year, Miranda's killing it. He is played 72 games so far. He has 241 at bats, 35 runs, 20 doubles, a triple, 9 homers, 43 RBIs, 2 steals, 14 strikeouts. 14 walks to 35 strikeouts, and a 328 batting average. Jose Miranda showing off that prospect pedigree. He's had a bunch of good seasons in the minors, including a 30 home run season for Miranda in 2021, where he had almost 100 runs and RBIs with a 344 batting average. This is just a guy that even the underlying stuff likes. The batting average is very legit, not striking out a lot, as I mentioned before. Hitting the ball fairly hard, finding that sweet spot, just doing a lot of things that, you like. And at 26 years old, 6'2", 210, Jose Miranda is just somebody that can be really, really good for fantasy baseball teams. He's actually up a lot in the last couple of days since that 4-4 game on July 5th. He's actually up like 42%, up to 63% owned. But I did just want to throw Jose Miranda's name out there for you guys in some of those shallower leagues. You do want to get him on your roster. You really, really do. This guy's very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't he have another great nickname too? Isn't he like the breakfast burrito?
Jose Miranda. I'm not. No, I think you're thinking of what's his name. From Meneses. From
yes,
from the Nats. Yeah.
Sorry, guys, had to go there. My bad. But anyway, Miranda is somebody too that like you guys have been asking us about, and at first for like the last couple of weeks, he hasn't been getting everyday play. He was sitting at least 2 games out of the week, but he's kind of thrusted himself into an everyday role, which is something you want to see. He was sitting against lefties, or whatnot, or when other players just needed to get in the lineup, he was the first guy, that was okay. Get your butt glued to that bench for pretty much the game. So the fact that he's playing well and he's able to carve himself out a role is good. I don't know how expendable he is. So we shall see. Ultimately, I'm expecting if anybody comes off the IL, he's probably going to go back down. So just, he's one of the more riskier ones. He is playing well right now, but ultimately you want to just, pay attention to that lineup. If anybody starts coming back or is planning to come on back, you might want to look for a different option, right? That as quickly as you picked him up. But let's move on here. Let's talk about Jesse Winker. Jesse Winker is somebody that we've talked about quite a few times. He's somebody that we've definitely said, hey, when he's hot, you want to ride him, and when he's not, you drop him like he's hot. And that's essentially what Jesse Winker has been this whole year. This week, he's having a week, right? 7 runs, a bomb, 3 ribs, batting 333, looking fantastic over this last week. And you know what? Let the good times roll. Pick him up. Adam, I'm sorry, Jesse Winker of the Washington Nationals, 52% owned. I feel like I should throw that out there for guys who don't know who he is. Jesse Winker just is on a heater. I think we need to add him ultimately right now, and then once he starts cooling off again, drop him like he's hot.
Yeah, Matt, great take there on Winker. I honestly really don't even have too much to add. As you said, kind of spoken about him a decent amount before. If you need an outfielder, you can go out there and pick him up. Once again, Washington Nationals outfielder Jesse Winker. Let's keep things pushing, though. Let's talk about somebody I'm actually super excited to talk about. Let's talk about some Drew Thorpe. Drew Thorpe is somebody we told you to go out there and pick up. When he got called up by the Chicago White Sox, he's been moved all around, been on a few different teams, but seemingly has found a home here in Chicago. Has been successful so far in the bigs, through his first, I believe it is 5 starts. The last 4 specifically have been very, very good. The last 3 have been very good. It was the second one that was a little bit tough there against Arizona. But Drew Thorpe's been cruising. 3.71 ERA, 1.13 whip, 26 innings, 18 strikeouts. I don't think Drew Thorpe is going to be a huge strikeout guy. But The numbers look really good so far. Even for the fastball, which is not really known for, he's getting good results with it. I like Drew Thorpe, and then his next start comes against those Minnesota Twins, which are down Royce Lewis. Even though Brooks Lee and Miranda have looked pretty good, and Carlos Correa as well, I'm throwing Drew Thorpe out there for that one. And once again, Drew Thorpe is 24% owned on Yahoo.
Yeah, you know what it is though? Like it's when it comes to Thorpe, he's like a two-pitch pitcher. He uses changeup a lot and his four-seamer, and he pretty much like gets guys to like get used to the four-seamer speed, and then he puts you away with a changeup real quick. He has a 21% put away with that changeup. It's actually completely nasty. It's so nice. The problem is I just want to see him throw something else in there, like that slider, throw it a lot more. He's only throwing that about like 13% of the time. But if he can work that in, or even that sweeper that he has, something that kind of like, give them a different look behind the plate. I feel like the K rate could go up just a tad. I like Thorpe a lot. And the fact that he's been so successful is because he's able to get guys to like get confused with his pitch mix. So I liked him over, Christian Scott. Got a lot of flack for it, but it seems like the proof is in the pudding. Thorpe has been fantastic every single start, whereas Scott has kind of been a little bit more volatile. So I like Thorpe a lot. I think he's a must add at this point. But yeah. And then up next, we got Reese Olson, who we've been talking about nonstop, that I think now has to have a permanent role in your team. Simeon Wood Richardson, another guy that you probably should be adding, and we'll be right back after this and talking all about him.
I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up any bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all its customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. And guys, I definitely pointed you in the right directions when it came to the NBA Finals with those Boston Celtics. And there's so many good bets available when it comes to Major League Baseball this summer. You need to check those out. So head over to FanDuel.com/locked on and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. And guys, Matt teased it. I know we've been talking about him a decent amount, but need to get him fully owned. Reese Olson, guys, and he's somebody I ranked pretty decently, coming, into the year at 24 years old. It's a breakout season officially. We got to say it. 17 starts, 3.22 ERA, 95 innings, 89 strikeouts with a 1.17 WHIP. He was good last year and just continues to impress this year. Has, a shaky minor league track record, but it has seemed to figure it out here in Detroit, and it's a great park to pitch in. So I think as long as he's there and we are seeing these good results from a young pitcher who, has figured it out, 45% owned for Reese Olson. He does get the Guardians in his next one, which is a little bit of a test, but over his last two, he's just been dominating against the Angels and the Reds. A 9 strikeout game over across 6 innings against the Angels, 8 strikeouts against 5.2 innings against the Reds, and that's in Great American Small Park in Cincinnati. He's just looked really, really good. I think Reese Olson needs to go from that 45% owned to around, 75, 80% owned, and just ride this wave right now while he's successful.
I mean, honestly, there's more to it than just riding a wave. I think Reese Olson is going to be a stable point of your rotation soon. He's only actually had 3 bad starts, and I mean, yes, they were absolutely atrocious, but everything before those 3 starts and everything after has been completely fantastic. It's kind of wild. His highest start in terms of ERA before those 3 games was a 3.6 ERA, 3.60 ERA, and after the last one, right, it was a 3 ERA. Reese Olson is having a fantastic year and is a breakout. He has fantastic movement on his fastball, his breaking balls, and his off speed. Yes, his fastball isn't going to blow you away. You know, and what baseball savant likes to call a slow fastball at 94, but you get him 0.8 miles more and it's there. He does give up hard contact, but because he pitches half his starts in Detroit, there is that protection. He's getting guys to chase, he's getting guys to whiff. He's not allowing guys to barrel. He's not walking guys, incredibly astronomically amount. And he's creating ground balls, all things that help pitchers, be successful behind the mound when they have, issues like giving up hard hit and average exit velocity. If you can create the ground balls, you can maintain and sustain the performance that we're seeing out on the mound. So Reese Olson, I'm definitely adding everywhere. That 45% should be about, I'd say, 88%, because probably in 8-man leagues, you're probably not adding them unless it's a deep league and an everyday league. But anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about Simone Wood Richardson, another guy that's interesting. You know, I'm not like too big on Richardson myself, but here's the thing. When it comes to Richardson, he's been performing, and he's on the Minnesota Twins. He's 21% owned. And this last start against Houston is pretty nice. And it looks like he might get matched up against the White Sox going into this week. The main reason why I would go ahead and add him. If he gets the White Sox, he gets slotted in. He's probably going to have a pretty nice matchup. You know, Obviously, all you got to really worry about is Luis Robert at this point. Eloy really hasn't been able to, impress me. And, the breeze can hit him the certain way and his ankle could fall apart or his hammy will go. So, Wood Richardson will even have less obstacles and speed bumps to get through. So I'm definitely willing to roll him out there. You know, if he could even go 6, get you the QS and get you 4Ks, I think that's pretty much a win right there for you.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Woods Richardson. And he's just been useful this year. 14 starts, 3.52 ERA, 71 innings, 60 strikeouts, 1.13 whip. The underlying stuff doesn't look fantastic everywhere, but the pitches are getting good results for Simeon Richardson, starting pitcher for the Twins. I really, really like what he brings to the table. And you know what? At least, Matt said juice the orange for at least for the next start, see where things go. I really, really do like it. With that being said, though, guys, I do have to dip out a little bit early today, so I'm going to leave you with Matt for the rest of the episode. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
All right, so we'll block out his little area here, and I'm going to pull up that next one here, and we're talking Mr. Anderson. Not from the Matrix, obviously, but Mr. Tyler Anderson of the Los Angeles Angels. He's 54% owned, and he's had a fantastic season so far. But, this last 2 starts haven't been the best of his career. I mean, the best. Well, really, it's more of the previous 2. This last one was pretty nice against the Cubs. He got hit against Detroit, and he got hit against Oakland, oddly enough. But then bounced back with the Cubs, went 8 deep, 10 Ks, no earned runs, a .38 ERA, got the QS. Looked real good. So Tyler Anderson at 54% owned needs to be added. I don't think he's going to get matched up against Texas and probably get the back end of it. I don't have the matchup in front of me. Probably get like the Friday or Saturday matchup and be able to skip the hard matchup. And I think Tyler Anderson definitely needs to be added for, the stream there. And, obviously be started everywhere because he's been fantastic. But anyway, let's move on to this last guy here and then we'll get out of here. We're talking Sean Manaea. He's actually been fantastic. Sean Manaea, the New York Mets, 41% owned. He's just had a killer month. 26 innings pitched, 2 wins, 24 Ks, 3.76 ERA, and a 1.22 whip. The last 2 weeks, he's had a .75 ERA, and a 1.17 whip. He has been so good. I'm loving it. I've been starting him literally every week these last couple of weeks, just based off of 1, availability, and 2, he's just been able to hold his own. It looks like he'll probably get the back half because he pitched yesterday on the 7th. So his next start should come over the weekend, probably about the Thursday, Friday matchup, skip Washington, and have himself a grand old time. Sean Manaea must be added. Again, 41% owned New York Mets. And with that being said, guys, please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review. And thank you, and hope you guys had a wonderful 4th. And let's enjoy the rest of this beautiful weather in July and have a great day. Peace.